we saw Mr. Yashwant Sinha not listening to anybody else but to us and making three major amendments: the 10-year tax holiday till 2010, the ESOP. No country in the world has this kind of ESOP tax guidelines, which means only 10% tax at the time of sale. That has been a major concession to us. And the third, very important, was the venture capital pass-through. And then we had the cyber laws being passed after removing certain draconian amendments to it. While this has happened in May, NASSCOM, which represents the interest of the IT software and services industry, which includes IT services companies, e-commerce companies, .com companies, that means IT-enabled companies, call centers, medical transcription, remote maintenance, back office operations. Our focus, after getting things resolved in finance, as far as law is concerned, the IT bill, our major focus today is telecommunications. Because all these things which have happened, which are very good, but they can be of no use if the bandwidth does not become more reliable, and is not easily available. And all this should happen in adequate time, in right time. It's all right to increase bandwidth, but if we do that after 5 years, we are nowhere. And that is the reason NASSCOM initiated a survey called Operation Bandwidth, and for the next 6 months to 1 year, maybe earlier, till we do not get it resolved, we'll continue this work to constantly work with Department of Telecommunication. Our way of working is different. We are not an association which becomes conformist. We don't fight, we lobby, and we like to work with the government. That's the reason in the last 3 days we have had series of meetings with Department of Telecommunications in trying to understand as to how we can work together, and we have found very positive response from Mr. Shamal Ghosh, Secretary, Department of Telecommunications. I'll just quickly run through a small presentation to convey the key findings. You already have the press release, and at the end of my presentation, I'd also give you the copy of the presentation, which will give you a lot of figures as to how we have gone ahead in it. The key objectives of Operation Bandwidth: to ascertain the availability of bandwidth in the country. There are a lot of figures floating around. So we wanted to be exactly specific, correct, and say what is the real bandwidth in the country, international and national. Examine the various projects which are going on to enhance the bandwidth availability in the country. Thing here is demand. As you know, in countries like USA, the supply precedes demand. So government or the private ISPs or the private agencies are free to create more supply, and that would get filled up in this country, is our thinking. And then provide suitable recommendations. This survey and this figures which we have given you is a combined result of the NASSCOM McKinsey report, which was released in December '99, and the survey we have done in last 2 months. There are two bandwidth requirement issues. So what we are trying to say is that if we want to achieve this kind of requirements, there are three major international trends. One, rapid increase in international capacity, the kind of fiber optics being put all over the world, the dramatic fall in international telecom costs. At the same time, demand for applications, whether it is streaming, video streaming, high animation, all this kind of applications which are coming in. So the bandwidth requirements are being led by these three factors or parameters, which is more capacity coming up, the cost coming down, and the application for demand increasing. We have seen that in this three case, the wire, the wireless, and the cable, there is a major increase in million phone lines. 700 million more lines over the next 15 to 20 years would be installed. So it's a dramatic change in the kind of telephone lines which will be put. It took more than 2 years. For example, small group online games require a bandwidth capacity of 64 kbps. Otherwise, you cannot play, you cannot use games on the net. What is being done today is just a precursor of what is going to happen in future. So why are the bureaucracy, the policy makers trying to make technology understand this? It's which does not allow voice over telephony, voice over internet. Now we need to, when I raise this question with government, we are told, we feel that our demand is close to about 1.5 GB. Rest of it is coming from the demand which people want to use it for various B2C, B2B, video, residential video services. Stop this. Catch hold of people who misuse it. But that does not mean just because NL, STP, many times the bandwidth is not given in time. It takes 6 months to get bandwidth, maybe in Gurgaon, after fights. Then our revenues, which we are projecting of 87 billion by 2008, there can be shortfall of 22.5 billion of revenues in that if we don't increase the bandwidth. And the job loss, because we have said that additional 2.2 million jobs will be created by that year. So 650,000 less jobs will be created. Why we are giving this is for a very simple reason. The finance people in Department of Telecommunication would normally ask you, why should I spend so much of money creating this bandwidth? You know, you are still doing very well. Why do you require? So we are saying, fine, now I'm giving you the figures. If you can sign on a file and say, okay, I am agreeable to lose $22.5 billion, still I will not enhance bandwidth, fine, I mean, then do that way. I mean, everybody wants to, I mean, you saw the IT bill. In IT bill, they created another post called controller. I wish that word was facilitator, because the guy who is made facilitator, at least he will think facilitating. He's called controller, he will tell you, don't do this, don't do that. And that suits the government.
Are you supporting the demand for a Ministry of Facilitation?
I think the government requires defense, external affairs and all those, but apart from all those 3-4 major issues, it requires one major Ministry of Facilitation. That would probably help.
That's only an opportunity cost.
There's an opportunity, this bandwidth issue. Anyway, they will lose people. I mean, where will they pay from? So one is, we're trying to say, make these jobs going down the drain. Taxation issues are not understood neither by the press nor by the government.